And welcome everyone to the Life of Giants. I am one of your hosts, Dino the Genetic Marvel, and with me is
Kyle Petryla,
and how are you this evening, sir?
tall as ever.
That's fair. That's fair. So, this is our first episode. We Kyle and I are gigantic people. I was I was gigantic and a giant circle before. Now I am just tall and broad. I guess that's fair.
How? Okay, so you are 6'2",
I think I'm 6'2".
6'3",
Yeah, 6'2",
Okay,
6'3", around
my
there.
question is, how tall were you around? Also,
Probably around 6 foot at least.
do you find it weird to figure that out? You also need to use pi.
Well, listen, this is the weird thing is that being a retired circle is a unique experience. That's for sure. Oh, we
Yeah,
already
so
got
they have
Tom.
to it was created by pi and has to be measured by pi.
I mean, listen, that's the circle of life, I guess, right? Serge, thank you for your comments, sir, and I hope you have a good day at work and watch afterward. Absolutely. No,
Sweet.
it's one of those things where like I was always worried because something like so I'm about 6'3". Kyle is about 6'6", and very manly. He's got giant hands like I do. We're both ridiculous. If you can see, there you go. um our rings are worn like bangles on other people. So hey, what's up, John? Another day, another relationship circling the drain. Let the suffering begin. Jesus Christ.
Hey, well, how
John.
did he know? Oh, my life. I try to keep all my struggles internal, but
Well, don't we on? Oh, how you doing there, John? No, hey, I'm glad you're going to be fine. Welcome, sir. We
that
are.
makes one of us. All right.
John is also a tall guy. John, maybe we'll have you on as a guest sometime because I mean, we're talking about the whole idea of like even now during the holidays. So Kyle and I were working at a Halloween village in October, which was an awesome experience because we were able to use our magnificent giganticness to terrify people, which in all honesty is an art. Okay, you can't just be big, you have to be scary. It is very key. And absolutely, yeah. See, John, you're 6'4", 6'5". He's a big guy too, so writer though. So realistically, now we were working a Halloween event, and it was hilarious because there'd be like big things, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna have to get the tow motor," and Kyle and I would be like, "No, we got it," and we would just grab stuff and move it, and people were just watching, going, "What the hell is happening exactly?" And we're just like, "We're just giants." And that's the thing is, there's a couple times we were asked like, "Oh, can you hang these lights?" And I'm like, "Sausage fingers, I can't do that. I don't have the dexterity to do that." You know.
It comes with its faults.
Well, listen, the ladies love us, but just
Speak for
our
yourself, sir.
our handwriting sucks. That's fair. But yeah, no, it's one of those weird things where you only realize that like there is nothing wrong with a short person walking up to you and going, "Hey, can you get that thing off the tall shelf?" Whereas you can't say, "Hey, little person, can you grab that from the ground because I'm too tall?" And
No,
people get mad.
I
That's fair.
say, can you please tie my shoes? I feel like that's an even trade-off.
I think, and also too, for people to realize, is your shoes are notoriously not tied, and it's just
No,
I
they're
see
always
it, and I'm like, Jesus, God.
It's a skill I need to perfect.
6'4" barefoot and huge in boots. Exactly. See, and realistically, I feel like we should start. There are a lot of people who wear lifts, and I'm like, okay, that's fine, but like at some point you're going to be barefoot, and everyone's going to know, right?
See,
And
they
the
wear
idea,
lifts,
well,
whereas
because yeah,
I I have bad posture, so I I stoop.
that's absolutely just like that's been the hilarious thing of my life, like especially when I was ridiculously fat, was that I would always slouch, but I'm like, just because I'm carrying so much damn weight. So now I'm like, I'm trying to stand up straight, and people are like, "Did you grow taller?" And I'm like, "No, I just have shit posture." So thanks for noticing, everyone. But
There's remember Varsity Blues, the fat dude?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. He eventually lost all that weight. But the crazy thing is, he lost about an inch in height because of the fat on top of his head. So he was pissed off about that because he got shorter.
I mean, I feel like that's a weird situation when you're so fat that it encompasses your entire head. You're like, that's a problem. You've gone too far, right?
Well, nobody looked at him and said, yeah, healthy. Fuck.
That's also true. Also true. That's who's the other guy? There's the guy who was on what was he in? He was on My Name is Earl and a few other things.
Oh, Boy Meets World. I don't
But
know his name though.
he was big and he got like stacked, but also too like he's got weird stretchy he's got big titties and everything, and I'm like, poor guy. But in the end, you're like, the funny thing was that he made that change and he was like, I had no work immediately. And that was my biggest scare. Like, I lost the weight and I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, I have to just talk about being tall and life experience now. Like, half of my material is all fat guy stuff and it's all gone. So,
stay in your lane, fucker.
Yeah, well, that's, yeah.
That's all I got over here.
It's hilarious because Kyle will go on stage and talk about being tall, and then I'll come up and I'm like, I'm tall, and they're like, you're not Kyle tall, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just. That's that. The way I describe it is he's a giant. I'm like a miniature giant. That's the fair explanation.
In defense, I was trying to write a bit about being like a miniature giant, which is the best thing you've had. I was trying to form a word that would both encompasses giant and midget.
Yeah,
because I don't care, whatever it said. They have a name anyway. There is a because technically giants are like 10 feet tall, so I'm like a short giant.
Yeah. Which, like, especially in this day and age, you're like, there's like, I've met a guy who was 6'10", and I was like, Jesus Christ, that looks like just a pain in the ass. Just like
terrible.
I can only imagine, because I remember growing up where I was thinking, I'm like, I want to be taller, and I was playing basketball, I was doing stuff, and I was like, I was growing, it was fine, but I was also like, I don't want to get taller than 6'6" because cars just aren't made for you, and it's one of those things where I'm just like, I just sneak in, and now that I'm not fat, I'm like, oh yeah, I can fit in any cars, no problem. But for a while, it was tough.
Even my height is pretty tall, tard.
Yeah.
6'6", because so much 6'5" seems to be a cutoff for a lot of things.
Yeah,
and I've measured multiple times. I am definitely 6'6".
Yeah,
and then if I wear construction boots, more like 6'7" probably. So at Hexwood, I was probably pretty tall and scary, and well, the screams verified.
That's also true. How about 10 small feet tall? Yes. 10 lady feet tall. That's you're like 15 lady feet tall. That's fine. Yeah. Quentin Tarantino has logged in. Jesus.
I don't know.
Well, listen, realistically, this is the what I find enjoyable is that if I walked into a place, I'm like, I'm the biggest guy there. Right. And now I'm kind of like, I'm one of the bigger guys. Like, I'm definitely a bigger guy than most men. But hilariously, there's so many men that will be like, I'm 6 foot. And I'm like, you're not. You're like 5'10". What are you talking about? Like, it's just ridiculous. And the amount of people that will lie about it. So I do another show, Generation Dan, and Atlas, who's in LA, he's 6 foot. And he has a massive head. Like, he can't wear hats. Like, his head is humongous, right? And he'll go into places knowing that there are people who say they're 6 foot and they're not. And he'll go up and be like, I'm 5'10". And people are like, what? And he's like, no, I'm only 5'10". And then the guy's like, hey man, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, yeah, I'm 5'10", just to fuck with you. That's fair. I think that's hilarious.
That's the funniest thing I've heard of Atlas doing.
Yeah, Atlas is
other than being a teacher in LA, but
which is I can only imagine how difficult that is. See, the weird part is that if we were, God, my secret, I'm nervous around people taller than me. Nothing against them, though. Yeah, you know what? It's you have to kind of be on the same side as all the tall people. You can't have a rift between the tall people, right? You have to all be on the same team, because otherwise you're like, no, this is not uneven. What are you gonna do? Side with the shorts? Absolutely not. You're like, that's Andre the Giant fights 6 midgets. I'm like, which I want to try. I definitely want to try. Just to be very clear, I think I
There
could
was
take 6 midgets.
that's funny. There was a no, but see that like okay, people are always like you're very tall and whatever, but they don't like I have all consistently through my life, like in high school and shit, uh, had somebody taller. So I
Really?
never feel like yeah. There, I went to school with a guy who was like 6. He said he was 6'8",
Damn.
and he has to be like 6'10" or something. Like he was like so tall, and like I grew a lot, even past the time when you're supposed to grow. Like I don't know, CrossFit,
Yeah.
fucking HGH went up. Like
Yeah.
I was growing. So like it's so it's weird. But then people will describe shit. I don't know if you have this problem. Describe shit to you, and it doesn't make sense because
No.
they will be like, oh, I haven't seen that guy around. Like I worked at a gym, and they're like, and he's like, oh, he's tall, and they don't know his name, and they're talking about him, and they're like, oh, he's the tall guy, and he was 6'5". And I don't know if you know this, people, but if you say somebody is tall or somebody is short, that is truly based off of your height alone.
Yeah. That
So he
doesn't.
was taller than her.
Yeah.
But you don't come to me and say the tall guy when he
That's
is
me.
shorter than me. He was like 6'5". Like he wasn't
Yeah.
that short or anything, but like it was still just like this is useless information. Like
Absolutely.
he
Absolutely.
was
Well, we always describe people as, oh, they're all small. They're just
yeah,
little, and people are like, well, how small? I'm like really small. I just start describing people as the size of birds. I'm like, you're like a bird. You're just a
yeah.
little. I could just fold you up and put you in my pocket for later. That's fine. That's for
It's
you.
like taller than me or shorter than me, which is everybody else almost. And then at that point,
Thanks, Cole. You guys are so giant. Y'all talk in slow motion. I mean, that's fair. That's just for the short people to catch up.
Yeah, you know, when you chew babies, it takes like you're like there's bone to get through. Like
it's a time consuming.
It's a time consuming effort.
That's it. That's it.
But it's funny that like the only people watching us are here to chirp. But
that's usually how it is. That's fine.
Yeah, that's a podcast.
No,
but,
it's that. Yeah, but like this is the thing is that you're absolutely right. It comes down to perspective, right? So from your perspective, you're like, yeah, everyone is short. That's just, that's why you're like, if you don't tell me how tall they are, then I can't tell you. They're like, oh, they're a little shorter than you. Okay, that's a tall person. Sure, that's fine. Yeah. Right. But it's one of those things. So this past weekend, I went and saw the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, which, full disclosure, everyone, not trans, not Siberian. And there wasn't really an orchestra. There was a 7-string group of people playing music. It was enjoyable. It was a little wonky, but it was an enjoyable experience. I highly recommend you go once to enjoy yourself. It will be a show. But like I'm walking through and like we got seats that they were kind of at the back of the 200. So it's like they're not the first one, the second little level. And I was like, man, I'm like, I fit in the seat sideways, but my knees were still killing me after it. I'm like, these aren't meant for real people. These are meant for little people. This is ridiculous. It's just, at least I was sitting like right up the stairs, so I could just stretch my legs out down the stairs. And I'm like, this is a hazard. Okay. No.
Oh, see, I am 100% a hazardous aisle person. But I do like compact pretty good. Like I'm bendy, but yeah, it's like, and then everywhere you go, you got to be like, hear it. Because great, I'm going to sit down at my seat. And you know who's behind me? Somebody with less money who now can't see anything. And it's like, it's not my, so should I be at the back of everything just so these midgets can see shit? Which by midgets, not even a derogatory term. It's literally everybody shorter than me at this point.
Yes.
With anybody under 6 foot. And honestly, if you're not 6'1", get out of the club.
I really feel there should be a tall person.
You didn't make the cut.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's the difference between being like, when you're 30, you're 30, but when you're 31, you're in your 30s.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Like he's 6 foot, you didn't make it. Sorry. I don't know, man. That guy should wear lifts. Like, can you even reach the top shelf? Like, I don't know. Why did she? Why?
Just gotta jump a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's like the Muggsy Bogues of life. But like, yeah, like, and it's insane. Yeah, like going to concerts and shit. I'm like, I'm sorry you can't see around me. Maybe you should have worked harder.
Listen, you should blame your parents. I'm a
Yeah,
hard 6 foot and 3/4 inch. That is a man who's fighting. Good for you, Cole. Good for you.
He is a man that is
fighting. And realistically, you know what? Actually, he always wears slides everywhere. So during the summertime, and I'm giving him shit, and I'm like, just wear real pants, wear real shoes, you son of a bitch. That's it. And then people will be like, oh yeah, you're 6'1". See, then you're in the club. Simple, easy, no problem. Yeah, no, you
found the one person that's too lazy to be in the club. I will not put on real shoes.
I will not wear real shoes, sir.
No, I am 6 foot. I am 6'1". No, you're not.
I had that was the one thing, is that because of where we were working, it was right in the parking lot of a mall, and we would go to the mall for lunch, and just seeing, like, we're walking through, and especially during the day in a mall, you get all sorts of people, right? Especially older people, and you're like, older people just crumple very quickly. And I'm like, I saw a lady pushing a grocery cart, and I'm like, she was barely looking over, and I'm like, how did you even get here? Like, what how is that possible? It's very peculiar when I see little people like that.
So a girl I was recently seeing, anyways, she wanted to film me at the haunt.
Yeah.
But she just wanted a chest cam. So when I walked through people, we could see how it like parted, because people would just move out of the way. And apparently that doesn't just happen for everybody.
Apparently.
You have to fight and elbow your way through.
Yeah.
And she was not exactly vertically gifted. So, but yeah, so that was an interesting take. And then I'm like, I could carry you, or we could actually mount a camera. It never ended up happening, but it was a good idea.
See, I always find the same thing too, is if I'm walking through a crowd, people will just part ways. Just
more or less.
Look, and I'm like,
yeah. Step on them and hurt them. I do dodge, though. Like, I'm not like like, there's these guys who just walk through as if they have muscle. I'm like, fuck off.
Oh, the best is when guys are like, ugh, and you're like, what are you doing? And I'll purposely not move for those guys, because I'm just like, what are you gonna do?
There's nothing better than laying into a solid shoulder when some douche is. Yeah, I'm like, dude, who are you picking a battle with? Because you're not gonna win with me.
I find that, so one of the things that we had going on during the Halloween haunt, which was called Hexwood, was that there was a few people who got punched. A couple people got punched in the gut, and some people got threatened. And I'm like, I never had that. And Kyle's like, some people tried, but nothing substantial. Kyle was more visible and also way more popular. He went viral a couple times with it. So, but I was just in a maze, and it was all dark. And I'm like, yeah, nobody tried to touch me, because I looked like I would murder you immediately.
No, it's true. And like, yeah, I was very public there. So there was, so it wasn't like there would be groups and people and like bags and stuff. And like, Dino's a big dude, and I'm talking a lot of shit, but the fact is I am trained in martial arts. I'm also very large and very strong. But so when I come off arrogant, there is things backing it up. I don't think I can just beat up everybody, but I probably can. Yeah, there's theories backing it. So
yeah, that's it. Like, look, I'm the youngest of 5 kids. There were 4 boys. That makes 2 tag teams. So literally, we grew up beating the shit out of each other. I also have a bronze medal somewhere from wrestling. So I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah. If you want to throw it down, I'll throw it down. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to throw down, but don't come to me and be like, ugh, I'm huge. And you're like, let's just calm down. Let's relax. There's no need for that. I always find that those people are always showing off. Like, they're always trying to impress somebody, and you're like, that's not impressive.
Yeah.
It's really not. It's you actually have to be something more than that. You have to have character, right? Yeah, unless you're Kyle, and then you're like, yeah, I'm bigger than everybody, so go fuck yourself, which is a fair point.
But even then, like, I took a lot of shit. I was really skinny growing up, little like skin, and I had an older brother and an older sister, and
Yeah.
they were like I was 4 years younger than her, so it's 6 years. So like it was kill or be killed,
Yeah.
and I was the youngest, so like I took a lot of shit, I took a lot of beatings, and
Yeah.
and now I'm bigger than both of them, and the fact is, like I trained so that first I was going into a career of martial arts, but ultimately I trained to fight so that I don't have to.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And then I can end it easier. But yeah, so it's not like I didn't have my shit in the as the small kid.
Absolutely. I think everyone has to go through that in life though, right? Like it's the same thing that there are a lot of people who walk around now who have never been punched in the face, which I'm like, I have a hard problem with that. It's like you should have been punched in the face at least once in your life, just so you know that hey, violence will happen if you don't check yourself. That's just life, right? So, and especially in times where you're getting a lot more crazy people, it's like, hey, listen, just relax because I will happily show you what kind of violence I can do. And I don't want to. That's not something I want to do, but I will happily do it because it's enjoyable. So, like,
People, it's insane. I don't know. Honestly, I think we'll do 100 of these, and 99 of them will end up in violence at one point. But,
I mean, probably.
That's talking about violence, because it's a conscious choice that we get to make every day, whereas some people just aren't capable. But we have to not do it.
So
every day.
So for people watching, just so you understand, the first time that Kyle and I actually met in person, Kyle was producing a show. We're both comedians. And so at the end of the show, I said, hey, thanks for having me on. We shook hands and we both looked down at our hands and we're both like, huh, that's a first time experience because we both have gigantic hands. Now, further to that, yeah, our rings are viewed as bangles by most people. So from there, I started on my weight loss journey. Kyle, having been a trainer for CrossFit and having experience in fighting and everything, he was like, hey, I think I can help you out. I'm like, all right, come over, we'll chit chat. And the best part was that we said, so it seems like both of us are very capable, yet have chosen not to be murderers. I think we could be friends. And it has so far been very good. But at the same time, I don't know. I keep shovels around just in case. That's just
He's just like pissed that I like took his reign as bigger guy.
100%. 100%. That's the funny thing is that so many times, so I used to be 500 pounds, which is huge. And I would go downtown to visit, like my nephew lives at like the Junction area, which I'm like, isn't sketchy per se, but has sketchy elements. And sure enough, I'm walking with a guy who's probably around 6, not your height, but a little bit taller than me. Okay. But he's like just a string bean. He's very thin. And we're walking down the street. He's like, I feel so safe right now. And I'm like, why? You're a man. And he's like, no, man. He goes, downtown is scary for me. And I'm like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, but I'm walking beside you. And I'm like, I can do whatever I want. No one's going to do nothing. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Because we took the subway down and people like, some people caused a ruckus. And I'm like, hey, shut up. And they're like, oh, sorry, sir. I'm like, yeah, don't start. I'll eat you, especially. And now, not being fat, I've had a couple people who are kind of like, well, you're not that big. And I'm like, really? And then I kind of stand up and they're like, nope, I think we're good. Yep, you're still huge. That's fine. So
there was see, a crazy day in my life was when like I found out that countertops were supposed to be at your waist. I thought about it for a minute and I'm just like, fuck, that would have been convenient.
Also true. That
like,
is
really. I'm like, so these were planned. I thought it was just like, this is the height. We've all agreed. So
yeah,
like, but no, therefore, and like people do go as far, but then you can't like resale if you get it custom, and it's like you have to live there. So
listen, we just got because when I moved in to my wife's home, we renovated the bathroom because my father-in-law was like, Dino won't fit in the tub. So instead we got like a shower stall, which kind of looks like somewhere you would hose down cattle, which I'm okay with. But at this point, I'm like, now that I'm smaller, I'm like, we got a really tall toilet. which I'm like is very comfortable because you don't feel like because little toilets you kind of like fall on them and you're like, ah, damn it, right? Especially when I was fat. Now that I'm not so fat, I'm like, oh, this is so much comfortable. This is so much higher. It's easier.
I'm jealous, but at the same time, every toilet is already a squatty potty for me.
Yeah, well, which is better for your health.
Like
That's
I was a shit. I'm just like, this is an invention to have my bathroom experience. Like, like
pretty much.
what? I'm like ridiculous.
Yeah, my knees are already up here. I don't need them higher. It's already doing the job. That's fair.
Yeah, like I routinely will like lose feeling in the leg or something. There was then there's the problem with dunking. But anyway, but there was one time. Okay, I went into work and my eye was bugging me because I had gotten like shampoo in it. And then my boss at the time, she's like, "Kyle, you're dumb. You're supposed to like arch your head back." I'm like, "Well, clearly, our shower experiences are fairly different because I would have to become a golden fucking arch. like I need to get a contortionist to teach me skills for that to be a possibility. Yeah. I'm more of a hang my head and hopefully it goes down. But like, yeah, like no." That's not an option. I don't have Shaquille O'Neal's money to have his shower.
No.
And he doesn't have hair. So that's not even a thing.
There you go. That's
yeah. So shampoo will happen in my eye.
The funny part is that so up until let me think, I had a single bed, then I got like a double, and then eventually I just got a queen size bed because I'm like, I don't fit in a normal bed. Like I even on a queen size bed, I'm like, I'm right at that like top to bottom, right?
Okay.
But for you have an extra few inches, which I'm like, that must be hilarious.
Okay, so I cannot have I can't have a footboard.
Yeah, that's
because no matter the bed, like I need a California King. I also need a job that affords me to buy a California King.
Fair point.
I can't like sometimes I would put a body pillow between the headboard and the mattress.
Yep.
It also leaves room for arms and shit. But like it will extend the bed, which I still hang off of. Like this is like my reality that you're just like this is hilarious. And like I get it.
It is hilarious.
And that's why I'm looking for the smallest mate possible.
That's only fair. Which makes complete sense.
Anyway, but
just for the jokes. I think that's
just because I'm just like I need the leg room.
Well, you can go diagonally and it doesn't bother them.
No, it does not affect her. Yeah, but for little people, they always hog the bed. Anyways,
it's always. I have the same. I'm like I don't like I sleep like I'm in a coffin, right? So I'm like I sleep on my back, and if I want to adjust, I'm like I wake up, adjust, go back to sleep because I'm like that's not. It's not feasible. Right?
I've slept hanging off the bed, like literally hanging off the bed. And I'm not with anybody. That's how much I'm just like on the edge of my life. Like I don't know. Like even at night, I'm just like maybe I should jump. Like maybe it's not worth it.
It's not far enough, but that's okay. No, it's one of those things where like now we have a king size bed and it's easier, but that's because just my wife is like. Has her arms like this, and I'm like, why do you need so much room? You're a tiny person. She's 5'4", and I'm like, you don't need that kind of room.
When I was a kid, you know, you see them, you study the medieval times and shit, and they have the rack that just pulls you apart. And I never thought of that anything but a good time.
Great time.
Sign me up. I need some decompression now.
Absolutely.
Now, as an adult, I see how it could be, you know, trying and a painful maybe, but like you just need another rope for my spine.
The stretch though would be so very comforting.
Definitely, fantastic. Like I need that. Like I've been cramped for my entire life. Like I get into a car, I drive a giant Nissan Versa,
which I used to drive one as well, which is hilarious. It is. And when Kyle and I both come into it, it is a sight to see. That's
that's like a clown car, but you're like, there can't even be a third.
You can't.
No. We're like that. They're surprised we fit in there at all. So there's
As are we. It's one of those weird things. Like even when I was 500 pounds, I would jump into the Versa, and people would be like, as I'm walking up to it, like, "Hey, watch, 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 watch." And then when I get in, they're like, "How did he do that? That's not. That shouldn't have that much
But
room." And I'm like, "It's very roomy. It's great."
it's good when it breaks down. You pick it up, you carry it home.
Absolutely, that's the best part. That's the hilarious thing was even when we went on our honeymoon to Greece. I'm like, so Greece is only in the last maybe 10 years have I started to see people who are tall. Like in general, they're very small, shorter people. Like 5'10" would be viewed as tall, right? So like a lot of times when I'd be walking around, uh, I people would like walk into my chest and they would look up. Like one guy, he was an older gentleman. He came around a corner. I came around a corner. I had sunglasses on, and I was just in a shit mood for the whole day. And he walked around the corner and just slammed into my chest. And he looked up and he was like, and I'm like, oh my god, everything's fine. Don't die. I'm just a normal person. Everything's fine. And it's one of those things where you're just kind of going like, even I would go like if I was going to stay with one of my aunts or uncles or cousins, like they would be like, oh, we have a spare bed, and I'm like, cool. And they would show me, and I'm like, do you have a second bed by any chance for half of my body? Is that not a possibility? And they're like, we could put a shelf there, and I'm like, sure, that works.
Do you have a spare corner of the room?
It's like boo balls jammed into skinny jeans. I mean, like kind of. It's a little bit. That's fair. It's one of those things, but yeah, I've always found it entertaining. Like I want to kind of go to like Sweden or Finland because there everyone's even bigger than us. Like that, you're a normal size there, which I'm like that sounds awesome.
Yeah, like I want to go to the Netherlands. Like they there was I saw a thing on a family who had their house like actually done. Like they're all like the daughter was like 6'3" or some shit, and she was the shortest. She was the short one, and so they had like 6'10" and all that stuff. Like they were tall, and
yeah.
Like so they had like countertops that are made for me.
Yeah,
like, exciting. And I'm like, but like here there would be like resale volume problems. Also, you know, I can't afford a house, so resale. Yeah, resale. I'm like, well, the landlord wouldn't rent. It was really pissed when I changed his house.
I mean, like that's
it's okay, people. I'm rich. You have no idea. Anyways,
yeah, that's fine.
Unless you actually want money, I have no.
Well, that's hilariously like so. I always tell a joke on stage. You've heard this before. I'm like, there's nobody in this house that I can't wear as a backpack, right? So it's my wife and her parents are small too. And I'm like, yeah, everyone's tiny. And the funny part is, there's been times where I've had to carry people into a car and stuff like that, and they're just like, what is happening right now? I'm like, you're so small to me, like don't worry about it, I got you. And I'm just like like a baby, and just put them in the car, and they're just like, how is that possible? I'm like, yeah, you're so small. But then like we get them like, because they're older, right? So we got them chairs and stuff that are a lot more comfortable for them. And my wife's like, why don't you have a seat? I'm like, I can't sit in any of these chairs, like that's impossible. You guys on top of a beanstalk. I mean, if it has reasonable rent, I'm down. Just very clear.
Well, apparently there's a goose with golden eggs. Fuck, I couldn't afford that.
Just that's
that's all I've been looking for in my entire life.
It's how could you not? That's only reasonable.
Yeah, Jack's a dick.
Yeah, if anything, that guy is an intruder. How dare he?
He came in, he B&E'd.
Yeah.
And then what? Murdered? Like.
Yeah. And then cut down the entry. He barricaded you from coming out of your house. Like, honestly, you're a dick.
That's Jack's a dick. There's I know. Hey, we should do a whole episode on how we're judged poorly in mythical tales.
Absolutely. That's like, actually, I don't know if you saw, I sent it on TikTok, was so a lot of people have started doing like getting full suits of armor and fighting, which I'm like, I want this. I want this in my life. I am made for this. I want to try. And it was a guy who was 7'1" and fat, and he had an axe. And then there was a guy who was 5'10" with a sword, and it was awesome because they were just fucking wailing on each other. And I'm like, I want to see this go down. Like this is a great thing. And I'm like, we should do this. We definitely do it.
I actually have a real life story about that. No, it was in high school. We had like a fair, and I actually went to this one, which is weird because I live far too close to high school to ever attend things.
That's fair. Sorry, I think I saw Kyle die during the White Walker battle in Game of Thrones.
You did not, because I wish I was on the show.
Absolutely.
That's insulting because I actually want to be on the show. But no, we had one of those setups like the jousting, like in American Gladiators. So you have the giant toothpicks, or I mean Q-tips.
Yeah.
And like my buddy had one, and we're like poking, and then I just went over top and like hammered him like you would, like you hit a fucking the gophers that pop up.
Yeah.
The whack-a-mole. Yeah, like I whack-a-moled him, and I like compressed his neck. He was just like,
I mean, yeah.
I still remember the pain that I inflicted on him.
Like, that's been the hilarious part, like watching people use those, and I'm just like, there's so many better ways to use it. And then I realized, I'm like, oh, they're too small to use it like that. Because I'm like, yeah, I could do this, but I could also do this, and then I have a mad amount of range, and I'm like, I'll take you out. Like, that's no problem, like easily. And I'm just, yeah, that's only fair. I feel like we should so this is a joke that I've been working on, Kyle, and I think you would appreciate it. And for our viewers, I think you will appreciate it too, is that there has been too much progress without actual achievement. So going forward, I think we should set up a set of rules where it's like, you can't just be rich and become CEO. You have to also be like an expert marksman or sword fighter, or like you have to have some other skill that you have to be a rock climber. That's a great level before you can become any sort. Like you have to have stages of things you have to achieve on the physical, other than, oh, I'm rich, so now I'm this. You're like, no, that's not. No,
see, like allowed. I'm so pro that for the fact that I am skilled at the physical stuff, and yet still have no like real career.
You and me both, sir. You and me both.
Like, I need them. See, like if I can walk into the boardroom and I can fight all the CEOs, I feel like I got a spot on the board.
It's one of those things where you're like, listen, I feel like trial by combat definitely should be a real thing. That's absolutely. I want to, if you give me a ticket, I want trial by combat, and it doesn't matter what I did.
I'm pro trial by combat in all forms. If I want your girlfriend, I can fight your boy. And then that's just how it is. Like they have to accept me as their Lord and Savior.
I mean, I think those were easier times. There were easier times when you could do that. That's just
yeah. We made all these laws and put all these like people in uniforms as if they can do fucking anything.
Oh, come on.
I have a gun.
Listen, when I was I've told this story a few times, I think on other podcasts too, was so when I was what?
Not this one.
Not this one. No. Asshole. So was one of the when I was driving the Versa, I was going to my mom's place, who lives in Brampton. That's where I grew up. And I at the time was definitely 500 pounds. And a call pulls me over for, I think it was running a light or something like that. Like I went through on a yellow, and he was like, oh, you ran the light. I'm like, did I? Let's calm down. So he pulls me over, and it's a three lanes and 3 lanes. But it's in suburbia. So there is traffic, but not a lot of traffic. So he pulls me over and he goes, okay, I need your license registration. And I go, listen, officer, I'm fat. I can't reach my wallet. I have to get out of the car if I want to reach my wallet. I can't reach it otherwise. So like my hands are up. But I need to. He's like, okay, well, use your right hand. And I'm like, bro, if I could use my right hand to open the car door, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Okay. I'm too fat. Okay. So I open the car door, and as I'm getting out, right, I'm like halfway out of the driver's seat, and the cop backs up into traffic, puts his hand on his gun. He's like, what the fuck are you? And I'm like, bro, let's just calm down. Yeah, everything's cool. I'm going to use 2 fingers here. I'm going to reach into my pocket. You can see it right there. I'm just going to grab my, everything's fine. Everything's fine. And he's just like, okay, yeah, give me that. Okay, yeah, just sit back in the car. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to sit in the back of the car, because I will actively, like if I get pulled over, I turn off the car, put the keys on the dash, and I put my hands through the steering wheel. And I do that because I'm like, hey, when you walk up and you see a head this size and the body how big it used to be, they're like, what the hell are you? And I'm like, no, I'm not a threat. Let's just start there. I'm not a threat. Let's just calm down, sir. You have a gun, and I'm not bulletproof. Just relax. So
no, I wear So when I get pulled over, I white knuckle the steering wheel, just keep them there, because it's just like, yeah, like I'm like, I don't want you to think I was reaching for something or fucking. I'm like, you have the gun, you get to win this one.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
but like one time it was like bad. Like I got pulled over. Like my car was just like really shit, so my lights weren't on because they didn't work.
Fair.
So like so I forget to turn on my lights just to be like daylights or whatever. But like the back lights or whatever. So I got pulled over and it was like New Year's Eve or some shit. So I did a sobriety test. But the problem is my I hadn't drank in fucking hours.
Even
and
that's fair.
Yeah, and then so like the problem is my pants are notoriously like always falling off. Because
it's true. He mooned me the other day. It was horrible.
That is actually fact and hilarious. Not something I was referring to.
Fair enough.
But like because my belt, like I can't wear it at my hips because my hips are way far higher than average people would. Like, so I look like Steve Urkel. So they're like they're already under my hips.
Yeah.
Right? Like, mostly it's just held up by like a belt. We're doing too much in my dong. So it's just, like I was doing a sobriety test and I always reach to the back to like lift up my pants. I damn near got shot. It's like, because I'm like, I don't care to shoot you. I'm just, my pants are falling down. So I have to like have rickets. Like I just have to walk like wide so that like, but I just did the blowy test. So like, because it's hard to walk a line with like rickets.
Sure.
I'm like, I didn't even think about that. I'm like trying to hold up my pants while doing all this shit. And
it's one of those things. See, that's the funny part is that like I would wear my pants low too because I had a big gut. I would just wear it under my gut. And every time I went for a suit, they're like, "Oh, you got to wear your pants at your belly button." I'm like, "Hey, get fucked. I'm not wearing that." Okay. I wear my pants underneath my gut because I'm fat and that's just how it's going to be. They're like, "Oh, you should wear it up top." I'm like, "No." Have you seen pictures of Chris Christie where his gut is in his pants? It is horrific to look at. I'm like, I'm not adding that kind of fuel to that fire. No, thank you.
So, yeah, and they'll try to force you. I remember wearing some correct pants.
Oh yeah. Oh, and by the way, also too cool though, you are in the US, which means everyone is trigger happy. So it's like, that's fair. That's
But
you do look sketchy. So.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah.
That's it's the weird part of interacting where you're kind of going like, hey man, is okay. I learned this during the pandemic was I'm like, there's a difference between being harmless and being peaceful. I'm like, being harmless means you can't do anything even if you wanted to. Whereas being peaceful is mean you've chosen to be peaceful. I am capable of all sorts. I'm like, listen, I can palm your entire face. And that I have done that multiple times and made people piss their pants, which I take personal pride in. But at the same time, you're going, yeah, but you know what? Let's just have a conversation. That's fine. If you don't want to have a conversation, we can do that too. I highly recommend otherwise because I will eat you and grind your bones into bread. That's fair.
I had see one of our makeup artists at the haunt. She was I don't know how she wasn't like crazy tall, but she was tall enough for a girl.
Yeah.
And, but her boyfriend was 6'10". So she was like, even with the short time being around him, she was sick of people asking him if he played basketball. And so am I. I don't even really like basketball that much. And last time I played was a realization that as you get older, skills do not stay.
No.
But I was a mixed martial artist, and hockey players are tall and all this shit, but everybody thinks, oh, let's play basketball. No, fuck off. I don't care. Quit asking. Just because you had dreams, and I'm not even that tall. Like, basketball players are taller.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, yeah, like, eventually they're going to take over the show. We're going to be kicked off.
Yeah, that's fair.
Little giants, and yeah.
I do, you know what? I do have a fun time, though, is that whenever you come out, and I'm just like, oh, no, I'm just one of the people. That's fine. I'm like, I'm no longer the tall one. That's fine. That's easier.
I get that. I like that you have that.
Yeah, I do. It's a very unique experience that I'm going through. That's for sure. because that's I've never been the little guy ever.
At the haunt, it was pretty cool when there was about 5 of us, all 6, like 6'3", 4, 2, and stuff like that. And then there was like one dude that's 6'1", which we've already talked about, doesn't qualify.
Does not.
He was used to being tall until that moment when he doesn't even qualify. I hope he's watching. Hey, Chris.
Yeah. Hey, Chris. And he even complained about it. He's like, this is bullshit. I'm usually the tall guy. And I'm like, not anymore, son. That's just.
Dude, and then I was like, dude, you're barely a guy. You're not even tall. So, yeah, it was.
He was also mildly scary. He wasn't very scary. The rest of us were very scary.
I was scary.
You were scary. The next time either of you get asked about basketball, just say, no, but I was a horse jockey for a while. I mean,
half a race.
It's I think people would just assume I was the horse, so that's fair.
I may have been ridden.
I may have been ridden. That's in the last 24 hours. That's fine. That's just
lucky man. There's no, but like that 6'8" dude who's probably 6'10". I don't know. I once jumped on his back and was piggybacking. And then I fell off, but he still held the feet, so he dragged me around. It was well played. I thought so. Well played.
Absolutely.
But I was like 150 pounds. Like I was like,
Jesus.
I was so small. I tried to fight welterweight at one point, and I don't know. I guess I started eating and I grew more. That's what happened.
I don't. You know what? It's very weird because I definitely had more growth in me into my 20s. Like my feet didn't hit size 14 until I was probably 21. Like I was always like 12 and a half, 13. Like it was just slowly just kept on creeping up. Like and my parents were just pissed off because they're like, just fucking stop. And I'm like, nah, I can't do it. Sorry. So
well, I feel like feet expand. Like as you got heavier, they got bigger. And like that's from my own experience because like it was crazy because in grade like 9, 10 or something, I only had like size 9 feet.
Really?
So you're like 6'2", 6'3", like that. You just tippy to you, like
that's
a fucking hoof. Like that's not like.
I used to make fun of a girl. She was into dance, like ballet and jazz and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And she still is. She's like 5'9", 5'10", and I'm like, she wears like size 6 women's shoes. I'm like, you look like you're a pirate walking around with 2 peg legs. Like it's absolutely ridiculous.
That is insane.
It is, and I'm just like, how do you balance with that? Like it's just because I've always like even the one experience I've had now is that my feet, like I used to get 14 wide. Now I just get 14 and I'm good. So all my shoes, I'm like, oh, they're extra wide and it's actually quite neat. It's like, oh, but I'm baby hands. You are baby hands. Listen, you definitely have it. Cole is like 6'1", but he does have like tiny little cabbage hands. He's just like that. That's what they look like.
We have established that he's not 6'1".
He's not. He's 6 foot and 3/4 of an inch. Just if he wore proper shoes, maybe, but no.
But like, I don't know. Other people, like, I find gloves that fit sometimes at specialty stores. Like people like take for granted that they can just go out and buy stuff. I bought my first pair of gloves in a really long time, and that actually fit. And that was just because they were XL1, and like a lot of the time XL2 doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So like you guys buy clothing that fits. I buy clothing that kind of fits.
Yeah.
Like, and they're like, oh, why do you buy those shoes? Because they fit.
Yeah.
And like, I don't get to choose shoes. I go into shoe stores and I find all the 14s.
Yeah.
And that, which isn't even the biggest. Like, I'm actually pretty lucky that I can shop at a store at all.
True.
But I'll gather the 15s that I even can kind of like, and then I'll choose amongst them after trying them on. Yeah. But yeah, it's
See, I've had the same type of, like, only now. So this past, when did we go? March, May? I don't remember where we went. We went to the UK, and like that was the first trip in my entire life that I've gone somewhere and I wasn't worried about if I had to buy clothes. Like I was like, I could just buy clothes here. Like that's like I made the joke on stage many a times where I'm like, listen, the only place I can go like that is the US because I am USA petite, which I'm like now I'm like USA like top tier shape. So it's very weird. But I'm like, that's anywhere else in the universe. I'm like, yeah, no, they don't have my size. Like just, oh yeah, it's just in the back. You're like, no, like here's a tarpaulin, just wrap it around you, right? So
Yeah.
it's definitely one of those things where like even for myself, like gloves, that's a nightmare. Every time I met my wife who makes outerwear, like she would have to special order stuff that she designed to make sure they could get one that was my size. Otherwise, it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
What is this? Kyle, come with Dino now, the U.S. next time, and we'll find you some swag. This is the land of big and home of the tall.
No, he's not
Bro,
wrong. A
no.
friend of mine said that like she's married to a rugby guy.
Yeah.
Player, I guess. And so he's a real man. And so he's a big dude. I'm taller, okay,
Yeah.
but he's thicker. Anyways, no, he's a good guy. Anyways, no, he has to buy suits from the States.
Yeah.
And I have tried to buy a suit here, and that doesn't happen because have you ever tried on an Italian suit? It's hilarious because the sizes only get wider. They get like so little length that it's insane. And you're supposed to buy it for your chest, but like I have arms. And like, have you ever had a short sleeved suit? Because that's not a thing that should happen. And so I don't have like a real suit unless I get it custom made or something. So they said to go to the States, but like you know where I got a suit jacket? Fucking Walmart, because their sizes are just so shit that it happened to fit me. And it was probably like a suit jacket for some fat kid for his high school, like uniform stuff. Like that. So I don't have like nice suits. And I'm like, when I buy like a piece of clothing that I really like that actually fits and stuff, it's like my favorite thing.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing because I try to buy it. So like, and like people can buy stuff every season, whereas I buy stuff once a year, maybe hopefully, if I find something that's good. And like I have a coat that I cherish. It's like a Sherpa coat, like a real coat, like a Canada Goose, only without money or hatred. It was at Sears. I special ordered a tall coat, so it fits. It's like long enough. Arms fit. You know where they have the holes for your thumbs? I can use those. They don't come to here. Like that's I can use those. I have coats that rip through because that's not for me. They're like, no, that's not for me. And it's a feature that is not for you, sir. So, it's like turn signals. So I've had the coat Sears has been gone for a long time now. And so it's like white, really. And it's like in pristine condition, A, because global warming, but B, because I really need to keep it good because it may be the only coat I'll ever have again. So.
Wow. I remember in high school, I had a coat from Sears because like you could order a coat and you could get XL, but you could also get it extra tall and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
you're like, yeah, it was great. Walmart as well. I've never seen anyone not wear a size medium t-shirt. In the States, I feel like that's fair.
Yeah.
But here there are actually sizes. Like I'm because right now I'm an XL. You wear XL.
I wear like double XL, but I could probably now downsize. Like I could probably do an XL now.
Sorry, I'm double XL because of my gut. But I
just like things are too baggy, and it's also like kind of hard to like. You see Sam Selleck with all his stupid muscles, and he can't get shit off. Well, I have I have my own issues just from being naturally large and not just a beef. Like that guy is like, I'm gonna be so muscular, I'm disabled. I need help getting my shirt off.
Which I always look at it and I'm like, that's awesome, but also super inconvenient. You're like, how do you do anything?
I don't know. Like, what's the point of that? I don't know. Like, you're gonna whatever. It's stupid, but
it is. But
because I have muscles that work, not just show, and like
there's that too, right?
Like it's funny because like I'm tall and like I used to train, so I have like muscle buildup. But like I don't look like ripped or anything. And so at work we had a trailer, right?
Mm-hmm.
on a truck, and the leg is broken on the trailer to like even it out.
Yeah.
And I had a guy, so I was trying to take the trailer off the hitch, and it was like the trailer was full, but I needed the truck, and I didn't want to unload the trailer. That was somebody else's shit. I loaded the fucking trailer. That's where I end. That's what I'm like. Nope, I'm a one-way trip, but I need to get out. And the guy's like, I'm like, I need your help because I couldn't lift it off.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, we're gonna have to empty it. I've tried before. I'm like, yeah, but not with me. And then I'm like, give me a fucking humor me, right? I'm like, give me a second, lift a little. So he lifted his like bit. Yeah. And he's like, no, we can't do it. And then I lifted it off and got it off. And I'm just like, I needed your help, all right? But like, and I'm like, okay, I'm stronger than I tell people. like, because then they have expectations of you're gonna lift shit, and I'm like, no, that's not my job. I don't get paid extra for that.
That's it.
So, but like, yeah, I can lift the hitch off the thing and a loaded trailer. It was pretty, a lot of wood. And
the same thing happened when we had to move that boat. There was a boat at the thing we're working now. It was called Night of Lights. It's very beautiful, and please go check it out. And
it's a float. It's a boat float.
It's a boat float, and hilariously, so it's on wheels. And I'm like, and they're like, we got to move it. So they're like, start calling in everyone. I'm like, no, you don't need everybody. It's not, you need like 4 people. And they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, and hilariously, Kyle was grabbing the main post. He's like, yeah, I'll drive it. And I'm like, yeah, perfect. Okay, you drive, I'll push. We're good. That's fine. And hilariously, I'm like, okay, 3, 2, and we just start going, and everyone else is just catching up, and I'm just like, yeah, what? I don't. It's on wheels. It'll move. It's fine. It's not that big of a deal.
But like before we started, one of the like assistant managers, whatever woman, it was like, she's like, what is she? 5'6", 5'8", 5'7"? I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, she might be 5'8". I don't know. I don't. She's shorter than I, and she's like, I'll steer. And I'm like, how? I'll have to shout directions because I can see over. So how about I steer? So
and she was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And then I was allowed as if it wasn't going to happen anyways.
Exactly.
But
naturally buff, humble brag. That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, but I worked on it. It's just like, so now I'm strong, and people don't realize that. So, and I don't brag about it because then people just want you to work harder, and I'm like, fuck that.
No, and then they just like, I remember when we had to build a bunch of houses. I'm like, I grabbed an entire side of the house and just walked it over, and people were like, oh, do you need help? I'm like, no, don't touch it. I got this. And they're like, oh, what can I do? I'm like, go get something else. Well, I'm doing this. Don't worry about it.
You and someone else grab the other piece.
Yeah, that happened a few times. I'm like, you two grab that side, I'll grab this side. They're like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I'm just like, no problem.
See, there was just like when you first came over, we were gonna like, well, he came over, we're gonna do mushrooms. I don't know if this podcast is about giants on mushrooms, although that should be scary. Anyway, but like, so I have a spare room, which also is a big sign of my wealth. Anyways, but no, like, so I had a queen. Without going into a lot of detail, I had a queen box spring in the other room. And I'm like, I don't know, you're on mushrooms. Sometimes you want to lie down. So I need a mattress, and there was a mattress in the garage, and I'm like 2-3 stories up, I guess, from there. So I went and grabbed I'm like, yeah. So I grabbed the queen mattress, and I brought it up the stairs and put it in there just in case you needed it, made the bed up. And it's like, it probably would have been easier with help, but I don't need it.
It's one of those things.
Absolutely. Like, I can wingspan
the
mattress, right?
Yeah.
So when you can grab both sides,
it's easy.
It's easy.
Well, it's not. It's manageable.
Manageable.
Right?
Yeah, it's not easy. Like when people like, sure, I can carry the whole thing, but like that wears on you. I'm like, help is good. I'm like, how about we all help and everything's light? Like.
That's it. It's fair.
Yeah.
And that's that. So this has been episode 1 of Life of Giants, everyone. Please follow Kyle Petryla and Dino the Genetic Marvel wherever we are. We're on all sorts of things, doing all sorts of things, but as well, we will probably be back for next week if there's something you want us to talk about. If you want the viewpoint of a giant, please feel free to let us know in the comments.
It could have been the view from up here.
It may change. It
The
may
weather
change.
up here. It's raining. Clack.
It's always raining.
It's always-
Anyways, we'll be back next week and with more viewpoint from up here. That's it.